In terms of dimensions, the fourth-generation Ford Mondeo, which was produced from 2006 to 2014, has outgrown most of its classmates. And in terms of reliability, my enemy is myself. The body of Moni could complain. That's how we called the Mondeo. Corrosion is only afraid of chrome trim in the roof, unlike other body panels, not protected by a layer of zinc. Chips near the edge of the windshield should be touched up immediately. But in sedans and hatchbacks older than 2010, on bumps and other distortions of the body, the trunk lids can breathe so deeply that they wipe the paint on the rear bumper. Dealers tried to deal with this by sticking a protective film on the sore spot. And the front bumper at the root removes the paint at the points of junction with the wings, and even over time it sags. Therefore, by the way, gaps under the headlights are not necessarily a sign of handicraft recovery after an accident. By themselves, they lose their shape, and felt fender liner, felt boots, fall out in the rear wheel arches. The problem was eliminated only in 2012, finally picking up the density and thickness of the material. Protruding ears. The rear mudguards hang down on pre-styling cars older than 2010. The carpet on the floor sags, crawling out from under the sills and pillars. Because of this, in 2011 they changed its material and made spacers under the coating more durable. The front seats were able to suddenly and unexpectedly turn into rocking chairs, until in 2012 they finalized the design of their fastening bushings. And check if the lumbar support adjustment works. If you don't notice its broken spring in time, it will cause a hole in the back upholstery. And the most curious nuisance in many specimens manifests itself when the front and rear doors of one side are closed at the same time. In a certain position they touch, and the paint is chipped off on the protruding, kinetic edge of the rear door. By the way, sometimes dealers were able to fix the problem by adjusting the doors. In winter, there are troubles. The lower door seal, even slightly frozen, can come unfastened from the threshold. But it's worse when, thanks to a frozen and jammed lock cable, it will not be possible to open the hood. This does not threaten only owners of cars younger than 2010 with a modified cable. Like a relative of the Ford Focus, the wiring harness going to the trunk lid is frayed. For this reason, the gas tank flap may not open. Sometimes the windshield heating filaments burn out, and for pre-styling cars older than 2010, the parking sensors go wrong. Then Ford changed the design of the rear bumper skirt, and now the otherwise routed wiring is better protected from dirt. 1-to-1, like the Focus, after 100 to 120,000 kilometers, the gas pump installed inside the tank can also fail. To a lesser extent, this applies to cars of the last 2 years of production with modified and additional mass wiring. Of the other problems common to all motors is the threat of overheating due to failure of temperature sensors, a fan, and easily clogged cells of a cooling radiator and an air conditioning condenser located close to each other. As for the engines themselves, the least questions are about low power and therefore not very popular. 14% of cars on the market, Duratec 1.6 gasoline units, designed back in the 90s together with Yamaha, then the family was called Sigma. Unless the cars of the first years of production were fooling around with the TVCT, twin independent variable camshaft timing, mechanism for changing the valve timing at the inlet and outlet. The camshaft couplings, €90 each, did not differ in particular reliability. The MZR engines developed by Mazda, they are also Duratec 2.0, 13% of cars, and Duratec 2.3, 39% of cars, are hooligans on trifles. Coils and wires of the ignition system often mope. The intake manifold damper valve is naughty. At the same time, after 3,000 RPM, the engine turns sour, and the throttle, which, without cleaning, after 50 to 60,000 kilometers begins to bite. After 100 to 150,000 kilometers, it is better not to ignore the rattling of the dual-mass flywheel. The elimination of the consequences of the shooting off of the springs will cost more. After 80 to 100,000 kilometers, it does not hurt to inspect candle wells. If oil is found in them, you need to tighten the weakened valve cover or change its gasket. And for those who love to turn the 2.3 engine from the heart, oil consumption for waste can reach half a liter per 1,000 kilometers. And if you do not keep track of the level, the consequences can be disastrous, up to a broken connecting rod. The weak point of the 5-cylinder 2.5 turbo engine borrowed from Volvo, 2% of cars, is the oil separator of the crankcase ventilation system, which is prone to overgrow with deposits. If you do not take care of it, then after 60 to 80,000 kilometers, oil seals can be caught by increased pressure of crankcase gases, and the risk increases in the cold. Ignition coils, on the other hand, They do not tolerate extreme heat, and an unreliable thermostat can jam, as luck would have it, in the closed state without warning, sending antifreeze in a small circle around the radiator. And the valves of the CVVT system, which are responsible for supplying oil to the valve timing adjustment clutch, are extremely sensitive to the quality and quantity of lubricant. But the 2.0 turbo engine of the EcoBoost series, which appeared after restyling, is the most picky about the diet. A single refueling with bad gasoline can bring it to a semi-conscious state with the check engine signal turned on, and in especially severe cases, pistons crack due to detonation. Therefore, the firmware of the ECU unit was rewritten several times. Make sure that the latest version of the program is sewn into the brains. And if the engine suddenly stops pulling even on good fuel, check the turbocharger bypass valve. For diesel engines, Duratorque 2.0, 16% of cars, and Duratorque 2.2, 1% of cars, jointly developed with PSA Peugeot Citroën. For the first couple of years, fuel injectors and high-pressure fuel pumps of the Bosch brand did not differ in reliability, but after refinement, these components are not inferior in reliability to a turbocharger that can withstand at least 200,000 kilometers. The main thing is to give diesels at least from time to time to breathe deeply. When driving in the city with frequent short and slow trips, after only 70 to 80,000 kilometers, the exhaust gas recirculation system valve may fail, the engine may even stall, and the particulate filter may become clogged. The problem does not apply only to some cars manufactured in 2009 to 2011 without DPF. The intake manifold flap will become stuck, and if it is stuck closed, the engine will not start. And the collector itself will be overgrown with a thick layer of a mixture of soot and oil. Annoyingly, the least problematic Duratec 1.6 engine is paired with the ancient and not very successful 5-speed mechanics from Focuses and Fiestas, the French IB5 box from Bordeaux transmission. The rapid wear of the drive seals after 50 to 70,000 kilometers is not so bad. Besides, in 2011 the design of the seals was finalized, and they began to serve twice as long. Worse, the axle of the satellites and the differential may not withstand the increased load, with all the ensuing consequences, not only in the form of oil from a hole in the crankcase, but also finance in the amount of 2,000 euros. The same amount can be lost if, after 100 to 120,000 kilometers, the hull of the input shaft bearing is ignored. It can jam. The German 5-speed MTX75 of the Cologne company GFT for 2-liter cars and diesel 1.8 is stronger, although you need to monitor the condition of the seals in this box. Most of all, the seal of the gearshift rod likes to snot, and even a minimal shortage of gear oil instantly affects the shafts and gear teeth. And after 50 to 60,000 kilometers, removing the box may require a release bearing, combined with the clutch slave cylinder. Fortunately, the clutch itself for both 5 steps is durable and rarely requires replacement before 120 to 140,000 kilometers. The cable shift mechanism rarely breaks, and if the gears suddenly start to fail or fly out, all repairs usually come down to adjusting the cables. And the most reliable mechanics are 6-speed GetRag, M66 with a 2.5 turbo engine and MMT6 for cars with powerful diesel engines. Not bad in the classic automatic paired with the 2-liter diesel engine and a 2.3 engine. The AWF 21 6-speed gearbox, first tested on the Volvo V70 back in 2001, and also familiar to the owners of Opel, Fiat, Saab, Peugeot, Citroën and Renault cars, is, in general, one of the most successful units manufactured by Eisenwerner and without overhaul is quite capable of last at least 250,000 kilometers. And so that there are no shocks when switching after 80 to 100,000 kilometers, a little earlier, after 60 to 80,000, it is necessary to change the oil with the filter. Although, officially, this is not required. Japanese hydraulics are extremely sensitive to the purity and quality of the working fluid. In Mondeo's 6-speed pre-selective GetRag 6D CT450 with wet clutches, which appeared at Mondeo along with EcoBoost engines, it is prescribed to change the oil and filter after 45,000 kilometers. But from the point of view of reliability, there are no serious complaints about the robot yet, except that at first the electronic control units of the box were buggy and changed under warranty. Suspension, in general, tenacious. After 50 to 70,000 kilometers, bushings and stabilizer struts begin to tap, 25 euros. Rear shock absorbers, including expensive active IVDC, interactive vehicle dynamics control systems, as well as silent blocks of front levers, last up to 100 to 120,000 kilometers, and wheel bearings are silent up to 120 to 150,000. But the support bearings of the front struts sometimes do not withstand even 50,000 kilometers, especially for cars of the first 2 years of production. Too early, after 60 to 80,000 kilometers, the front shock absorbers themselves, as well as steering rods, tips, and silent blocks of the rear trailing arms, may fall into disrepair. In steering, it is able to let down the power steering pump, in order not to suddenly find yourself without an assistant. Do not ignore the increase in noise during system operation, and first of all replace the power steering reservoir with the filter inside. And in order not to run into trouble at all and extend the life of the pump for more than 100 to 120,000 kilometers, it is worth changing the working fluid every 60 to 80,000. And do not immediately rush to the store for a new pump if it suddenly fails in the cold, perhaps due to condensate in the oil. The delicate bypass valve simply froze. The steering rack itself is quite durable, and if after 100 to 120,000 kilometers a knock appears, first of all inspect the plastic adjusting bolt plug. Its rather weak thread has a tendency to break off, and the plug is squeezed out by the support fork from the seat in the crankcase.